So we all came together and we ate. And the truth is that I felt a tense energy from the very beginning. When we all came together in Jeremy's sukkah, I felt a tense energy that I wasn't expecting, because I didn't really realize that while I have a long history with these Germans, the other people there did not. And, I knew that Shayna's mother was the daughter of a Holocaust survivor. It's such a central part of her identity. Shayna's grandmother, who we all lovingly called Bubby Zush, she endured the living hell of Auschwitz. But I didn't know about the family background and connection to the Holocaust that the other two women had. And I should have, because they were Ashkenazic, and most Ashkenazic Jews that aren't Sephardic from the, Arabic countries have a story with the Holocaust. There's a connection that they have. And indeed, they had a very strong connection and very painful past. So I couldn't put my finger on the tension, but it was there. So I decided that the moment had arrived to stand up and share some Torah. And I scanned the portion in my head, and I arrived at exactly what Jeremy and Tehila had been talking about. And I really feel like Hashem put it in my heart, the Tower of Babel. I felt a peace. That's it. That's what I want to talk about. Now, I've spoken about this idea on the fellowship before, so I won't rehash the entire thing. But in very short, I shared the idea that humanity came together to defeat God, but not by, like, as Tehila said, not by arrows and cannons and going up to this great tower. That's like an infantile, childish approach. They came together in the united desire to be evil. And when they saw what happened the last time they were evil, Hashem sent a flood. So they wanted to build the tower so high that Hashem would, if he decided to punish their evil again with a flood, they could go up there and they could take refuge in the tower. And that's why he confused their languages, to expose that this unity that seemed like all of mankind was united, it wasn't real unity. The unifying to do evil is not a real bond of friendship and togetherness. And all it took was for them to throw bricks at each other's head, was just mixing up their languages. Anyways, and there we were, Christians from Colorado, Jews from Florida and Boston, Israeli Jews living there, they're from Jerusalem, Christians from Germany, like, as you know, descendants of who they were. And they were all coming together with different backgrounds and cultures and languages. And we were coming together from a place of love. Or so I said. I think I was trying to empower the situation to be more from a place of love, and to fix that initial sin of the Tower of Babel in, like, the deepest way possible. And then Jeremy spoke beautifully about, I think he shared it with you, about the picture he has on his library books right by the door to his house of the Piasetzna Rebbe, Rav Klonimus Kalman of Piasetzna. He's the Rebbe of the Warsaw Ghetto. And how he, this is one of the Torahs that Jeremy shares, one of the ideas that no matter how many times he tells me, it always penetrates to my heart every time. And how he imagines that this great tzaddik would feel if he opened his front door, and instead of seeing the swastikas and suffering and murder and death that he always saw every day, that he was able to see through Jeremy's eyes, right? The rolling hills of Judea and the children of Auschwitz prisoners having a Shabbat Kiddush with the children of the SS officers that ran their camp. And I think that it was around then that Shayna's mother, I guess she couldn't take it anymore. And she stood up and said, "My name is Lily, or Liba, and I'm the daughter of Auschwitz survivors. And I lost much of my family in the camps." Now you could see her shaking. You could see her shaking. And she said, I'm trying to remember it all. The whole thing just happened so quickly and unexpectedly, but she stood there and told everyone that before her mother died, she was able to come out to the farm and see where her granddaughter was living and where she would, please God, be raising her family. And her eyes filled up with tears. I actually merited to see this happen. I remember her grandmother turning to me and saying, "You're either Mashiach or Meshuggah, right? You're either Messiah or you're crazy." Anyways, she said that, this moment, sitting with all of them, she said that it was an overwhelming experience for her, and she didn't exactly know what to make of it. And now in the German group are these two sweet women. They're twins. Their names are Irmgard and Anna Marie, and they look so German, from their hats to what they're wearing to their jawline. They're just so German looking. And they're nearly 80 years old, and they're filled with strength and vigor. Here's actually a picture of them in the back of the Ranger from the Olive Harvest, just so you can sort of visualize their faces. That's them with Shayna and Dvash up front. Anyways, one of them stood up and addressed Shayna's mother. And with tears in her eyes, she announced that she was the daughter of the SS officer. And so it went from this sort of cloudy, hazy. I know that there's Jews here, and I know that there's not, but who's who, we don't really know. It was all very ambiguous and confusing. And now it became very clear and specific and exact. And she said that she was just so filled with pain and with sorrow and with regret. And then one of the Jewish women stood up and shared her heart and just the pent up pain and tears welling up in her eyes, which was followed by another German woman standing up and begging forgiveness through her own tears. And then they all just embraced each other and wept on each other's shoulders. It was just, I mean, just can you imagine? This was a picture I captured after Shabbat, but that doesn't compare to what happened on Shabbat. This is when they were all saying goodbye to each other. That's Shayna's mother on the left, and I think Irmgard on the right. But everybody was crying. Everyone, almost everyone, other than Jeremy, who started clearing off the table and whispered to me, "I'm not ready for this. I'm short-circuiting." There was just, I mean, that's one approach. I couldn't blame him. Part of me also couldn't fathom what my eyes were beholding. There was no introduction.
For me, it was like short circuit, overload, overload. This is too much for me right now. I don't know how to process what my eyes are beholding. I should just clean off the table and be productive. Short circuit.
Yeah.
That's what it
I
felt
looked at
like.
it, I was like, how could you be doing that, Jeremy? I'm like, oh, this is his coping mechanism. Because there's no introduction for this. This was not planned or engineered, at least not by man. And as I beheld what was playing out before my own, tear-filled eyes, I felt strongly that this was not just an isolated event that was happening, that something very profound and historic was happening. We're only on the lowest dimension of what was happening, we're seeing with our eyes.